You think you're lonely now. Wait until tonight. How y'all feeling out there, dear family? I pray all is well. They definitely watching my Facebook real closely. I pray all is well out there. We're going to get this podcast started. Shortly. Man, I just got home in time. I've been out handling business. This podcast is titled 290. Healthy relationships include uncomfortable conversations, part 2. If you have not yet heard part 1, subscribe to my YouTube channel and you will find some very valuable information that you may could use or you could give to someone. We're going to get this podcast started shortly. Part 2. I'm chiming individuals in at this time. Things that you need to definitely know and be aware of. Things that you could grow to sustain great relationships if you're able to accept uncomfortable conversations. Damn, man. How y'all feeling out there, dear family? It's your cousin Pete. Just got on to the palace. It's always so black and so beautiful. I represent so black and so beautiful. It's always so black and so beautiful, dear family. I want y'all to share this podcast to your page. I want you to share this podcast to y'all page. This podcast is titled Healthy Relationships Include Uncomfortable Conversations, Part 2. If you haven't heard Part 1, subscribe to my YouTube channel and you're able to hear Part 1. All right. Oh, man, I've been working all day, man. I've been on working. Hey, working for self, though. You know what I'm saying? Ownership is the way to go, dear family. Facebook is watching my pages very closely. If you think you're lonely now, wait until tonight, girl. I was bumping that song, and it said that they will block my page, this live feed. Nevertheless, let's get into this podcast because I don't want to be long tonight. But I pray that whatever I have to say, it definitely gives you some energy and some understanding on how to sustain relationships and be able to accept constructive criticism in these relationships. So in 2 minutes, we're gonna start this podcast. We're gonna get our numbers up to about 25. You know what I'm saying? Have your peoples chime in. Sorry if you don't. Sorry if you have to be alone tonight. uh, you, hey, so make sure that you share this to your page and tap your friends in. This is podcast that you don't want to miss. Healthy relationships include uncomfortable conversations. Healthy relationships include uncomfortable conversations. Um, you have to be able to withstand, withhold, and endurance and endure um, trial, error, um, misfortunes, um, different perspectives other than your own in order to sustain or grow genuine relationships. We'll get this podcast started once we get one more person in the room. We're trying to get to 25. I want you to share this podcast immediately. Don't be afraid. Just press messenger and send this podcast over to your page. With that said, first and foremost, I bear witness that there is no God but Allah. And I thank him for Jesus and the gospel, Moses and the Torah, Muhammad for the Holy Quran. Peace and blessings be upon these mighty giants that came before us, yet to guide all of us on the right path. Wherever there's confusion, God sends a reminder or he sends a helper. And understand that scripture reveals that God sends saviors with a plural to save the people, to guide the people. So in their righteous and holy names, I greet you all, dear family, in the divine greetings of peace. Peace is what's needed in the times in which we're living. Okay. Podcast 290. Healthy relationships include very uncomfortable conversations. Healthy relationships include very uncomfortable conversations. As we know, constructive criticism is the biggest head in the room. People hide from it. Constructive criticism, the word construct is to build. Criticism is to point out imperfections or point out something that can be better. Constructive criticism is an art and a technique that we should all accept when trying to be better. As a coach coaches a player, he observes the player, and if the player technique is not in the proper form and can be better, the coach coaches the player up to his potential. When we are at fault or when we are in need of guidance because we lack the understanding, we go to God himself, whether that be a mosque, whether that be a church, a synagogue, or whatever house of worship that we choose to go to. We go to that house looking for guidance, looking for instructions, looking for something better than what we have to build us into what God intends for us to be. So constructive criticism is a key point in development. Constructive criticism is an attribute of God himself because he uses constructive criticism to to perfect imperfections. So this podcast is titled Healthy Relationships Include Uncomfortable Conversations. Far too many times in relationships, whether it be mother and father relationship, brother and sister relationship, boyfriend and girlfriend relationship, or husband and wife relationships, far too many times We allow things to go on and not address the elephant in the room due to some fear, due to some ignorance, and due to lack of understanding, or unable to, not knowing how to approach a situation. Well, we have to grow up. We have to be responsible to ourselves and others. We have to treat people how we want to be treated. And that entails, if we want something better than what it is, we have to address it, because a lot of people have been subjected to so much in their life where they are accustomed to being disrespectful, irresponsible, raggedy as hell, um, displaced, and they find it normal. And so as you indulge in these relationships with these individuals, it tends to get on your nerves. It tends to rub you the wrong way, and you start to disassociate yourself from somebody that you may have loved over a disagreement. Well, before it becomes a disagreement, we always see the signs of things that need to change. We always see things in people that needs to uh, not only change, but needs to be corrected. And so, what good is a good friend? What good is a good husband or wife? What good is a good associate to address somebody imperfection? A lot of people can't accept constructive criticism. I know this off firsthand. I deal with people to this day that are quick to point the finger at someone else, but the pen stops when the conversation is about them. I see this far too much. And these people, or these individuals, are the weak-minded people that we're dealing with. Because when you can't address a person is doing too much, but what defines what a person, who are you qualified first and foremost to self-check, reality check somebody else? And I would say, yes, you are qualified if you're in a relationship with that individual, whether it be a friend relationship, brother and sister relationship. You are in a position to help that person grow. And so in relationships, women have to be able to accept how somebody else feel. Maybe what you doing in the relationship is affecting the relationship, and you've been accustomed to that. Um, how can I put it? You've been accustomed to that way of life, that way of thinking for so long. When you meet someone else, you bring that same energy of the old into a new situation. And sometimes your behavior don't sit well in a new situation, because the situation may be a little bit more mature than what you come from. So when somebody gives you constructive criticism on how to conduct yourself, or how to, or point out things that's affected them, won't you be a listener? Be a listener opposed to a talker and trying to always defend your wrong. Far too many times, relationships, far too many times, conversations turn into um, breakups. Far too many times, conversations turn into distancing yourself from one another, when all you have to do is be observant, or all you have to do is treat somebody the way you want to be treated. All you have to do is listen to how somebody else feel opposed to what you think they should feel. because every tub is on its own bottom. And so when somebody can express how they feel to you and you think what you have is right for them, is arrogant of you. It's arrogant of you. And this is why I came with the saying, love me the way I want to be loved, not the way you want to love me. Like me the way you want to like me the way I want to be like not the way you want to like me. Because sometimes the way you like me don't move me. Sometimes the way you love me don't move me because I'm not interested in certain things. But if you tap into my love, my likes, and my wants, you tap into me. Far too many times people are trying to implement their way on someone else. Won't you be a good listener and a good observer? Tap into that person's like, want, and need. And energy is so transmittable where you don't have disagreements. You don't have misunderstandings. You're treating a person how you want to be treated because there's certain things that you like as well, certain things you want and certain things you need. And you're asking for that individual to tap into that. This podcast is called Healthy Relationships Include Uncomfortable Conversations. Allow a man in a relationship to express his dissatisfaction with you, woman, without you getting emotionally disturbed and unstable. Sometimes your behavior, sometimes your bitching, sometimes your complaining uh, brings so much hell to the relationship, the man's find peace in another woman's arms. And you have no idea what you're doing because you always venting. And it's very important to be civil and when you have a disagreement, that you may understand what the disagreement is about, opposed to being a tyrant and jumping off the edge and being a certain way with a certain behavior, because man deal more with logic than emotion. So if you're dealing with a situation from an emotional state of mind, you don't grab. Emotion only represents movement, but you all over the goddamn place, and there's nothing foundation holding you to have a civil conversation with you because you're yelling, you're screaming, you're crying, and man detaches himself from that situation and go find peace somewhere till you're ready to talk. It's very dangerous when you don't have a civil conversation and a man is unable to express his dissatisfaction and give you some constructive criticism to do better. Not that you're not great, but in certain situations, you just have to do better, and vice versa for the man. Understand, uncomfortable conversations have to happen. You may be living with someone, and this person may not be helping you pay the bills, but you love this individual. But if the individual is not bringing tangible substance or helping to lead you and get you in a better situation, you have to have that uncomfortable conversation with that individual because they may be a person who's been living off people all their damn life. And we call them blood suckers and leeches. And so, in order to have that healthy relationship, you have to address that irresponsible behavior. You have to address people not being responsible and pulling their weight. You have to have that uncomfortable conversation. You got to match my energy. You got to match my drive. You got to match my love. If it's not mutual, you shouldn't want it in your presence. You have to have uncomfortable conversations to be successful. Even with children, conversations are going to get uncomfortable because, as my father used to say, I've been your age, you ain't never been mine. And these children think they know everything but know nothing. So when you giving children vital information on how to live this thing that we call life, and they don't want to listen, sometimes you got to sit them down and have a very uncomfortable conversation, one about their behavior, one about what's to come. And they may disagree with you and may not like it. But in order for this conversation, this relationship that we have to get better, you have to be responsible to me as I am to you. See, it's a lot of children that we have, even my own, love free room and board, but don't want to do a damn thing around the house responsibly and consistently. Washing dishes, cleaning the house, doing the chores and responsibilities in school, the things that they need to be successful at. You know, uh, they want you to be consistent paying them damn bills. They want you to be consistent feeding they damn mouth. They want you to be consistent buying them Jordans and buying Christmas gifts and buying birthday gifts, but they're inconsistent with you when it comes to responsibility to the house or treating you the way you treat them. Sit their ass down as my father did and told me I've been your age. You ain't never been mine. You have to learn a set of principles, a set of values, and a set of morals when you conducting yourself or you living under my roof. And that conversation is going to be uncomfortable because these kids are so entitled. They got all the trinkets and think they know everything. And sometimes you got to show tough love. Hey, my sons and my daughters, when they got a little strong, go find your own shit. Hey, that's all. I'm straight words. And the conversation is uncomfortable because you don't want to do your children, a certain way, but they need to grow into understanding what responsibility looks like and what it feels like. And when somebody is not holding their end of the bargain, there's going to be um, something, there's going to be a displeasure that is going to come for you. There's going to be a different energy that's going to attack you if you're not responsible. This conversation is called Healthy Relationships Include Uncomfortable Conversations. I once had a friend before, right, dear family, and I had mad love for my family member, but his breath stinks so damn bad, man, and I couldn't. I was so embarrassed to tell him what his breath smelled like. So I went to my cousin. I say, family member, how do I tell the family, man, he needs to go to the dentist? I said, my cousin said, cousin P, he smell what we smell, he see what we see. I said, oh man, he didn't have no answer for me. But over a period of time, which was some years, his breath remained like that. And it was because of a cavity he may have had or not been to the dentist ever in his life. And so I started to drop certain lugs, like, you know, in being tactful. And it was a very uncomfortable conversation. But his breath was destroying our relationship because I couldn't be in the same damn room with him, nor the car riding with this dude all the time because I didn't want to go through that onion tear dropping smell, man. I didn't want to do it. And so I had the uncomfortable conversation with him to salvage our relationship. Say, brother, what you want to do is you may have a cavity or something, and your teeth is probably deteriorating in your mouth. You may need to go see the dentist or something. And it was very uncomfortable for me to have because it's embarrassing. Have you ever had a feeling where you have let somebody borrow some money from you, but they didn't pay you back, or you was uncomfortable asking that individual for your money back? You know that feeling? That's the feeling that we have to get out of because as we're uncomfortable about asking somebody for our money back that borrowed our shit. And so what happens is and so we get all mad, we get mad and frustrated and don't want to be around the person and talking shit about the person and doing all this when it's time to have uncomfortable conversations to sustain relationships. I've, people owed me before in my life, and I waited for them, patiently to give me back. In the days past, and they didn't pay me. They didn't say nothing about it. They got new shoes on. They doing all this, that, and the third, and just raggedy shit. So then you don't want to deal with the person anymore. And so I had those experiences, but I'm gonna tell you something. Um, when I started to grow into the man that I am today, oh, you gonna hear from Cousin P if you borrow anything from me. You know what I'm saying? I had to have those uncomfortable conversations in order to sustain the relationships because I loved, I, I, I respected my relationships with individuals, but situations or circumstances were making them so uneasy because I didn't want to make it uncomfortable. But now I'm finding through life, in order to be successful, you have to be uncomfortable. You know what I'm saying? In order to establish something, you go through trial and error and pain and difficulty for it to be successful. And that's how you have to use these principles with relationships. We get very uncomfortable in relationships, and you may love the person, but at some point, when you are being affected, you have to sit down and have a civil conversation and see whether or not that person is even in your best interest. You have to identify who you're dealing with before we could start even having relationships. At this point, it's 2022. You know what I'm saying? We ain't just allowing individuals to suck our energy, to suck our resources, to be irresponsible to us. Because people will come and suck you damn dry, man. And that ain't a friend that you want to have. That ain't a person that you want to get involved with long term. You want a person that's going to reciprocate the same love, reciprocate the same energy, be as responsible to you, and be as committed to you. That's what we have to have in 2022. But constructive criticism, people run from. People are always pointing out your imperfections, but never their own. People are always demonstrating what you doing, but they don't talk about what they doing. You ever seen individuals like that, their family? It's a lot of individuals that always pointing the finger at you and be totally off and wrong. But when you point the finger back at them and address them, they run and hide like cowards. Beware of those individuals, man. They are not in the best interest of being fair. And so identifying who you're dealing with and having these uncomfortable conversations in your relationship are very, very important. Because when something stays the same, it eventually dies. So if your boyfriend is staying the same and he's not producing, he's not doing anything different, and you're dissatisfied, dissatisfaction brings about a change. You have to give an individual the opportunity to determine what direction they want to go in, so you have that uncomfortable conversation. Look, we have been together for a year, 2, 3, or 4, or 5. What do you think about moving in a different direction in terms of the things you're doing is affecting me? You have to change. It's going to be hard having that conversation, but you have to have it for your own sanity. You have to have it for your own, you know, um, peace. And if you don't have it, you will be miserable. And then that energy would affect everything around you. So have these uncomfortable conversations that you may have healthy relationships to sustain them in every aspect, even with friends. Friends like to gossip about one another, talk about one another. And some friends that talk behind your back. You have cousins that talk behind your back, girls you grew up with that you will bring another girl in that she never knew. And then once you have a disagreement, you and your girl, the other girls get together and talk about you like a dog. Oh, that happened with men too. Oh, the men is cutthroat the same way. And you find out that happened. You and you don't say nothing about it. That's the damn problem. You have to address shit that's not right and allow people to be aware of who they dealing with. Because at the end of the day, they could think whatever of you, but they know that you genuine and solid and you're not accepting bullshit. Because if you accept the bullshit will be keep throwing your way. So it's inevitable that you challenge yourself to be great, you challenge yourself to be better, and you start challenge your weakness and your fears to have these uncomfortable conversations with anybody that makes you uncomfortable, because the objective is peace. The objective is peace. And we have to have peace in 2022 because there's so much hell around us. So with that said, dear family, I pray that you all have conversations, things that you hold on. And when you hold on to resentment, when you hold on to things that's bothering your soul, did you know that you're destroying your immune system? And this is why they say that stress kills. See, stress, the immune system is made up of white cells. The white cells do everything in your body for you. And when your body throws off hormones that's unbalanced, the immune system goes to correct the balance. So you go from stress, you go from hot to cold, you go from hot to normal, you go from cold to normal, you go from crying to calm. It's because the immune system is working. And sometimes people allow the stress to consume them. So be aware of having how important it is to have uncomfortable conversations in all relationships, that it won't kill you, because the love for the person and stressing over the person gonna kill your ass if they don't stop doing what they're doing. It's because you allowing them to do what they're doing. And at some point in all aspects of life, enough is enough. Everything has a cap and a balance to it. You can't eat all day. Your stomach gonna tell you enough is enough. You walking all through the day, your body gonna shut down and say it's time to go to sleep. Close your eyes. Sometimes you got to shut your mouth and listen. Everything has a cap to it. And if you allow the run on constant wear and tear in your life because you're fearful and you're weak to have a uncomfortable conversation, your fear is choking you because the man is abusive. Your fear is choking you because every time you try to talk to the woman, she always arguing and complaining and can't be told nothing. Disassociate yourself and save your life, dear family. If you can't have a conversation with anybody that's civil, they ain't prepared to be a part of your life longevity. Because you can't take 2021 into 2022 if you're trying to be greater and you're trying to be better. We all have, every new year we come with this ritual. Well, I'm going to work out better. I'm going to eat better. You never say what you're going to do for your sanity. You never say how you're going to alleviate the stress out of your life, because you have to deal with the mind before you could deal with anything. Everything in life comes from the mind. And so if you don't deal with this properly, you just talking that talk. And because once you get into the new year, all the uh, things you didn't written down that you say you was gonna do, something gonna transpire in the new year, and you um, start to reverse back to what you was opposed to what you wanted to go, where you wanted to go. So it's important, dear family, to have these uncomfortable conversations in order to sustain your relationship. This podcast is 290. Healthy relationships include uncomfortable conversation. If you want a healthy relationship, please allow someone to tell you about yourself, to bring constructive criticism to you, a different perspective other than your own, and evaluate what they're saying. It may be some truth to it. Make your adjustments and your relationship grows. Because anything that stays the same eventually dies. This is part two. Healthy relationships include uncomfortable conversations. If you have any questions, or if you want to come on to my live and talk about it, feel free at this time. It's your cousin Cut and Pete. And you know what? Even when you're doing business with somebody, you know what I'm saying, you feel like the business ain't going right, you have to sit down and have that uncomfortable conversation too. And that's one thing about me and my brother that took on this truck and transportation business. Anytime there's a discrepancy or something, uh, you know, we'll come to the table and we address it and we move forward. We don't harvest or hold on to things that ill affect us, and question ourselves, why do we do this? Why do we do that? No, no. Go to the table, get your pen and paper, and address the things that need to be addressed. And I guarantee you, you will be successful in all of your relationships if you address the things that need to be addressed. But you have to be tactful, you have to be respectful, and you have to be timing is everything. Don't come with that loud mouth. And I want to say this to you, sisters. The beauty of a woman is her ability to show her feminine attribute. That's the most sexiest, peaceful thing to a man. When you aggressive like a man don't know whether he laying with a damn woman or a man. When you so damn aggressive like a tyrant, men don't find that sexy at all. If you are if you smoking and drinking like a man, clubbing and doing all these things like a man, you gonna get cheated on. I'm just gonna tell you straight up. The unalike attracts, not the same thing. The unalike attracts. Negative and positive brings power. Okay? That's why you have the sun. When the sun is gone, the reflection of the moon is in its absence. Everything is in harmony. Um, right and left. You know, the opposite attracts is my point. You can't be that type of, you can't call yourself a woman but have manly tendencies and ways. It's unattractive, man. So if you want to find yourself in the best relationships and harmony with men, don't be a pushover, be assertive, but be a woman. Be assertive, but be a woman. You wonder why men, you in love with a man, but this man is dealing with another woman? It's because actually you lack something that the other woman has. And it has everything to do with, I'm a man, I know. It has everything to do with the way you handle yourself in situations, how you handle yourself in the disagreements, how you handle yourself. Um, Everything ain't always for an argument or a shout or to show some emotion. Be civil. Be the God that God made you to be. Be civil. That will be a great podcast. The Honor Like Attracts. Be civil. I know you. I know you women always talking about, I don't care. I don't. What? Oh, well, if you don't care, you go ahead. Don't care. And out of that energy is gonna come another woman your man is spending time with that you have no idea. So you better care, and you better uh, uh, want your relationship to be healthy, and you have to have uncomfortable conversations. And that goes for the man too. Have uncomfortable conversations with these women and address how you feel, dear family. Sometimes men don't even say that. Men just let you play yourself. Don't you know that a man could detach himself inside of the relationship while you think y'all in one? Ooh, us men will detach ourselves mentally from you inside of the relationship if all you bring is hell, whining, complaining, and bitching. We'll use you for what you're useful for. And that's if the niggas ain't got nowhere to go. They'll be at your house, laying at your house, but soon as the morning come and your weed gone, the food gone, they going back over to the baby house where it's peaceful. Tell us about that. What part you want to know? Tell us about that. Be a little bit more specific. So understand how man detaches himself inside of a relationship. I mean, when you say I'm done, he been done, and you still going through the process of pain. Why you think that women suffer longer in relationship than men? There's a reason for that. Y'all still, this man and moved on to another. Baby mamas are prime examples. They can become very bitter because they still loving based on their conduct and their character. The man has disassociated himself and moved on, and now she want to go put um some child support on the man and make his life miserable because that's what she at. She miserable. Okay, I want to know why men detach themselves. Beautiful question. The question was asked, why do men detach themselves from women in relationships? Men deal more again with the logic part of a relationship than the emotional part. There's an emotional attachment versus a logic attachment. Logic only represents what makes sense. Does it make sense for me to be arguing with the woman? What is the value of this woman? What is the conduct and the character of this woman? For me to sit here and to waste my time and energy in what a value do you have? So the man is thinking from a logical point of view. Sex and pussy don't sustain a relationship. It's the conduct, it's the character, it's the feminine nature of you and your ability to help that man become the God that God intend for him to be is what sustain the relationship. So man detaches himself inside of the relationship when he finds the relationship unhealthy. If there's a lot of arguing, if the woman is not cooking, if the woman don't keep a clean house, if the woman smoke, sound like him, smell like him, and look like him, how the woman rears her children. He will start to identify this ain't nothing that's making him better. So he detaches himself emotionally with you and has found peace in another woman that's doing the things you ain't doing. And then when you say I'm done, when he been done with you, and this is why when the relationship separates, you still hurting and he's moved on. Facts. I'm a grown man and I know, and I done been around 1,001 counters. Detaching myself from certain situations that was not useful anymore, that were um uh sometimes people outgrow people in relationships. To me personally, in relationships that I had, I, the energy was beautiful and everything was good. But when it's time to build, see, build is more important than laying damn down, producing nothing. Producing and building. When it's time to bring in a plan, sometimes you outgrow the individual and they lack thereof, and the disconnect happens. Okay. Well, I believe a guy detaches from me because I would not give into sex. When is the right time to have sex? Okay. Well, I believe a guy detached from me because I would not give into sex. Let me tell you this. Men identify who they dealing with when they initially meet that woman. They looking at your conduct. They looking at your character. That means that they're listening to the verbiage and the language that comes out of your mouth, and that defines to them what level they're gonna put you on. How do you carry yourself? What language do you use out of your mouth? Because we could we could differentiate ghetto, conservative, responsible, spiritual, irresponsible women. And so much go under each one of those categories. However, if he if you believe he detached himself from you due to sex, his position with you was never to be in a relationship with you. His position with you was to be in a sexual uh, manner with you from the get go. And sometimes us men look at the woman and we look at all things, not just some things, all things. How you handle your house, you paying your bills. Are you arrogant? Are you cocky? Are you assertive but beautiful? Ooh, if you assertive but beautiful in your language, in your conduct, in your character, firm but strong, but easygoing and tactful, that's beautiful. And then the question was asked, when is the right time to have sex? I ain't qualified to tell nobody when the right time to have sex, because as a man, we want sex immediately as a man. Shit. And some women want sex immediately as a woman. So I ain't qualified to speak on when is the right time. But when I was a child, I talked like a child, I walked like a child, I acted like a child. But when I became a man, I put away childish things. Um, when is the right time to have sex? By nature, men and women are attracted to one another sexually, naturally. If and sometimes chemistry brings about it quicker than other people. But when people have vision, when people have goals, when people have been through so much in their life, they want to establish direction before they give up affection. That's beautiful. It's a way to do that though, because you would explain to the individual that because when you play hardball with a man and you make a man wait 5 and 6 months, to have sex, in the society in which we live, 85% deaf, dumb, and blind to the knowledge of self, savage, and living a beast life. When you play hardball with a man, when he finally gets it, he don't even want it no more. He accomplished what he accomplished, and it was because you put him through that trial and error. There was no beauty in the fight. Most men don't like the fight. Most men like conservative and responsible with a conversation. I want to, but I want to know where this situation is going. And don't always throw yourself in a relationship. Go listen to my podcast. I just did in terms of the difference between a friendship with benefits and a relationship. There's a process in relationships from associates to friends with benefits, to a relationship, to a commitment, and then an agreement and a bond in life, which is marriage. Everything is a process. Don't confuse the process, and don't throw yourself in a relationship that don't claim nothing to be a relationship if you ain't discussed that with that man. A man will go after the woman for him. Explain what you mean. A man will go after the woman for him. So understand, men detach themselves in relationships if the relationship is not a healthy relationship, and the relationship bring more hell than heaven. See, the word heaven means peace. That's why when you look up in the sky, you see the moon, you see the stars, and you see uh, the sun. And everything is in obedient to God's will, and in not only is everything in the heavens in agreement to God's will to produce for the human family. You don't see the sun arguing with the moon arguing with the stars. Everything is in harmony, in peace. And this is why Jesus said, as it is in the heavens up there, so shall it be on earth. Peace. When a man doesn't see peace, he's going to find it if you bring in nothing but hell. He will not allow a good thing for him get away. He will go after her and pursue the connection. Exactly. A woman identifies the great attributes and energy in a woman and what she brings to the table in terms of making him better. See, when you see the Honorable Elijah Muhammad teaches us, there's never bad women, there's bad men who make bad women. It's wisdom behind that. And he also said that heaven lies at the feet step of a woman. Heaven is at your feet step, your footstep. Why does he say that? As mothers, you are the first teacher of life into the universe. You are the second coming of God himself. This is why it's called womb man. You have the word womb and you have the word man. Because the creator seen within himself different chromosomes. So as scripture reveals, he took the rib and produced woman. Rib only represents an attribute, and produce woman from himself, that the woman may reproduce him. This is why, man, you got to understand the wisdom of God. He took from himself to produce the woman to reproduce himself. So every time you reproducing the creator, you reproducing God himself, and you don't even know how powerful you is. And heaven is you. The woman has the there's X and O chromosomes in man. And man holds the seed of life and spits forth life into the woman, and the woman produces the seed into existence, or bring forth the seed into existence. And here you have woman holding the love of God, the majesty of God, the nurturer of God. This is why when you get in trouble, you call on mama. All men call on mama. Therefore, all men look at the woman as heaven. This is what the Honorable Elijah Muhammad taught us in the Nation of Islam. I don't want you to get confused with Arab tradition pose of what Islam really is. Don't get confused. I would do a podcast on that, because the Arabs in the United States that's living the way they're living are total savages, and they know it and I know it, because their heads will be chopped off for selling you wine, pork, cigarettes, any substances that have bad chemicals in there. They don't even sell that in other countries, but they sell it in America. Women walk 6 steps behind them. Their women pray outside the mosque opposed to him. Man, the tradition of an Arab is not Islam. Don't confuse the two. However, the black woman is the mother of civilization. You understand me? She's the author of it all. All races that are on our planet came from the black man and black woman. It's not a race. The Arabs came from us. You don't know the truth. The white man was produced out of us. That's why it's called races. There was a beginning and there's an end. See, I'm giving you wisdom you probably had no idea about. See, because when you start mixing, and there's a germ in us, which is a red germ and a brown germ. See, the white Satan knows who the black man and black woman is. He has mastered with us. That's for another podcast. However, heaven lies at the footstep of a woman, and when you don't give that man heaven, he detaches himself or dissociates himself and finds peace somewhere else. If you have any questions, or if you want to come on this podcast, I'm gonna give it 5 more minutes. If you want to come on, and ask questions, feel free. If you want to come on camera, feel free. We can set dialogue, responsible, civilized dialogue. Don't ask me the question in my messenger, because I keep getting messenger messages, and you should ask me. Um, any more questions, dear family? If you don't have any more questions for your cousin P, this is part 2. Healthy relationships involve uncomfortable conversations. If you haven't listened to part 1, subscribe to my YouTube channel. If you haven't got your apparel, go to soblackandsobeautiful.com. 25% off sweatsuits, everything I got going on. There's going to be a new inventory coming shortly. I'm just focused on my trucking business at this time. And so, I'm handling it. If you have any questions, Feel free to ask me any questions about a relationship or what I've said that you disagree with, or if you want me to elaborate on any questions. Anybody want to come on camera? Or are you scared to death? Let me pull this person on camera right quick. Let me see if they. I'm gonna invite them. Oh, they got their camera off. I invited them though. I'm gonna pull. I'm gonna pull y'all on camera, man. I'm gonna pull all y'all on camera, man, cause y'all scared to death of cousin P. You know what I'm saying? There you go. Everybody got their camera off, huh? Everybody scared to death. Let me see. Let me see who. Oh, let me go. My family member. Let me pull them out. I'm gonna pull them out. Oh, they camera out to everybody. Camera off tonight. Everybody's scared to death. Everybody's scared to death. Let me see if I get my family member in. She's very educational, man. She be spitting the flame too, and she will not answer that phone. Sorry if you have to be alone tonight. I don't know what that means. Evening King, top of the morning, top of the night. I literally have to turn my back and text and cry the whole time. Why? Why you gotta do that? I'm gonna ask her why. Why? Hey, let me see. I'm asking people if they ready to come on the camera, man. Hey, y'all so spooked out y'all boots, man. Y'all so spooked out y'all boots, man. Let me see if I. Shut this down. I appreciate everybody listening. This podcast is Healthy Relationships Include Uncomfortable Conversations. Um, you know, if you want to, the listening party is coming up. Tickets gonna be on Everbright. I think the tickets gonna be like about $15 to get in. It's gonna be beautiful. I'm also doing a So Black and So Beautiful dinner. The tickets of that to be $10. I got a lot of things on the agenda coming up. So y'all stay tuned, man. The listening party, and I'm performing. So y'all better come rock with your family, man. Your cousin P. Um, everything will be on social media next week, but I'm just letting y'all know. Get prepared. Get prepared. If you haven't got Fall of America yet, go to any streaming platform and download Fall of America. If you haven't listened to the first album, So Black and So Beautiful, get that. That album, powerful too. Nevertheless, I appreciate y'all listening. It's your cousin P. If you have last questions, any questions, anybody want to come on camera? Are you scared to death? Um, we're gonna start setting dialogue. So for those that want to set dialogue with me on camera, um, uh, hit me in the DM and let's set up a subject title and get a woman's perspective and a man's perspective so that people could get involved in the conversation more opposed to me just talking. If you want to book me for speaking engagements, you could go to soblackandsobeautiful.com or soblackandsobeautiful@gmail.com and leave the information there. And my peoples will get back at you and we will make it happen like the captain. If you need advice from Cousin P, you know what I'm saying? If you need advice in a one-on-one, you know what I'm saying, you could book me at soblackandsobeautiful@gmail.com and we can make an appointment and arrangements and I come and my peoples will put that together. Nevertheless, I appreciate y'all. It's an honor. Tomorrow's podcast, what the side chick should know. Ooh, y'all gonna love that. What the side chick should know podcast is coming up shortly. Stay tuned. Peace.